Good evening and welcome to the 2025 Georgetown Making an Exoneree Documentary Showcase. My name is Mark Howard and I'm the director of the Georgetown Prisons and Justice Initiative. And I'm just so excited to be here tonight with all of you in person and those who are joining us on the webinar virtually. I have the privilege of co-teaching the Making an Exoneree course at Georgetown with my childhood friend here, Marty Tankleff. He's Georgetown's Peter P. Mullen Distinguished Visiting Professor. Marty and I launched the Making an Exoneree program 7.5 years ago because we believed in our students' ability to uncover the truth and to advocate for justice. Many people thought we were crazy, and some still do. But we knew that our students could help bring innocent people back home to their families. And the films that you're going to see tonight reflect that belief. Because these amazing Georgetown undergraduate and law students who are sitting before me in the middle row here have spent, yeah, we can clap for them. They have spent the past several months reinvestigating the cases in search of the truth. And the documentaries that they have created reveal the injustices that have kept 5 wrongfully convicted people behind bars for a combined 123 years and counting. Let me say that again. 5 people who we've come to care about and consider family have spent 123 years in cages for crimes that they did not commit. And the work that the students have done is so powerful, as you'll see, and it helps to shed light on the cases and give hope to the people and their families who not only deserve justice, but are caught in this web of a legal system that creates the exact opposite of justice. So before we move into the programming, I'd like to acknowledge the people who've helped to make so much of this possible. We've had many accomplished guest speakers to come to our class and work with our students, and experts who've devoted pro bono countless hours offering their time, their expertise, their passion, their hearts to supporting our efforts to free the innocent. And so please give these experts a round of applause. Well, I next want to thank the Making an Exoneree team. Marty and I are the face of the program, but there are so many people who are devoted to the success of our students and, of course, advocating for the program participants who are behind bars. I could spend 10 minutes on each one of these people saying how important they are to our program. I want you to give a round of applause to these Making an Exoneree team members. And I also want to highlight 2 of them and ask them to stand up. Orlando Jones III, Trey. And Adnan Syed. Who together served in total 60 years in prison for crimes they didn't commit, are now free and are working with us, helping our students advocate for justice for others who are in the same conditions that they suffered through. And Trey, I want to mention, was one of the program participants in the 2021 cohort of Making an Exoneree and came home in July 2022 after serving 37 years, 2 months and a day, and really embodies everything about Making an Exoneree on both sides. First inside and now with us home. Love you, Trey. And of these team members, I want to highlight one other person who just ran by me. Sullivan Goudreau, who never stops working, who has put literally hundreds of hours into this class this semester, probably just over 100 in the past week, and I don't think he's slept. He is our documentarian. He works with our students, coaches them, trains them. I think they would agree that their documentaries, which are phenomenal, wouldn't be half as good if it weren't for the help of Sully. And he's been with us this entire semester, and we really deeply appreciate all the support he's brought.
We got a fan club.
But of course, all of these team members are incredible, and I would just want to thank every single person on that screen for what they've done for this program. We started Making Exoneree in 2018, and since then, we have now miraculously walked 12 people out of prison for crimes they didn't commit. And I want you to look at the joy and the love in those photos there. And I want you also to look at the release dates, because if you notice some trends, we're gathering steam. We had 4 people come home in 2024. We've had 1 already in 2025, and there are a lot more to come, and hopefully some of the films you're about to see, those people are going to be coming home too.
You want to turn and stand now, or?
No, yeah. I want to highlight one of them who came home in October of this year. Tony Mills, please stand up. And also, is Edward Martinez here? There we go, Edward. Stand up. Stand up. There he is in the back. 20 years, but now he's home. And I know that many others are watching right now on the webinar, and we love you all and really appreciate everything you've done in your fight to come home and the love and the family that we've created together with our students. Now, I want to mention one more slide here before I turn it over to Marty, and some good news about the Making Exoneree program, which we've been doing here at Georgetown since 2018, which is we have expanded it to other universities around the country. We did a pilot program at Princeton in 2023, and then again in 2024, and it continues today. And already, I should mention, 3 of their program participants already home, including Tony, who was one of the Princeton cases. We also added a Georgetown Law companion class in 2023, and these law students are providing invaluable legal research and analysis to complement the investigations that our undergraduate students are conducting. But this year, we also expanded to UC Santa Cruz and to New York University, and we hope to add more universities in the future. And so this year, with the 4 programs, we're currently working on a total of 16 cases. And with continued expansion, we hope to be able to help even more wrongfully convicted people obtain their chance at freedom.
Good evening, everyone. As Mark mentioned, my name is Marty Tankleff. I co-teach the Making Exoneree course, and I'm Georgetown's Peter P. Mullen Distinguished Visiting Professor. I know firsthand what many of these wrongfully convicted individuals are experiencing. The injustices, the deep hurt of being away from your loved ones. I know because I was wrongfully convicted as a teenager for the murder of my parents. And I spent nearly 18 years in prison. If the state of New York would have had their way, my first parole board would have been October of 2040. So I want everyone to understand how many more years that if the state had their way, I would still be languishing in a cage. We're also here because while I was incarcerated, Mark, my childhood friend and I, since lovey-dovey preschool, if we would have trademarked that, we would be multimillionaires right now, made a commitment to do everything he could to get me out of prison. And his efforts put us both on a path to creating Making Exoneree course at Georgetown. I'm inspired every single day when I see the dedication and determination of the students in this course. Their impact is real. It's making a difference. And for Mark and I, the difference is, I don't even think we can measure what this impact was. When we came up with the idea in 2018, and we started walking people out of prison, and our students I just want to mention Edwin Martinez is relevant because he was an undergraduate student who worked on his case, went on to law school, and as a lawyer, walked him out of prison. Myself and others here today are with you all today. Thanks in large part to the people who didn't give up pursuing justice. Then, I would like to ask for the following people to please stand. Orlando Trey Jones, Adnan Syed, Edwin Martinez, Brian Ferguson if you're here, Leo Schofield, and Tony Mills. And any person who is wrongfully convicted and watching this on Zoom. We would like to recognize each one of you. I also want to recognize that since 1989, 3,667 innocent men and women have been wrongfully convicted and have served over 33,000 years. That number should scare every one of us. And for the men that are standing, I thank you. I know what you went through, and we will never stop fighting. Would the family members please stand? Because I would also like to ask the family members, the individuals whose cases we have worked on, to stand. Each of these individuals featured in the documentaries have a community behind them fighting for their justice. I also actually want to thank the students' families, my family, Tara, Mark's family, because the sacrifice that Mark and I and our students put in every single year. When I first started teaching this class, I had hair, I don't anymore. So you know the work is very troubling. But it's so rewarding because Mark and I get this immense joy of doing this work. But we couldn't do the work if we didn't have the students, the PJI team, the MAE team, everyone behind us. Now let's move into the part that I know all of you have been waiting for, the student documentaries. First up, Team DeMonte Chappelle.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma.
I'm Luca.
And I'm Ramslyn. Oh, and we are Team DeMonte Chappelle. DeMonte Michael Chappelle, whose story you will hear tonight, was 21 years old when he was arrested for first-degree murder in 2013. All of this took place just a 30-minute drive away in the Congress Heights neighborhood of Southeast Washington, D.C. He was just a year younger than the three of us at that time. He had just been accepted into college, spending his free time boxing, playing the PlayStation with his friends, chasing girls, and was glued to the hip with his father. As we've gotten to know DeMonte, we've also had the privilege and joy of getting to know his siblings, cousins, friends, and mother. We've seen firsthand just how deeply they value and prioritize family above all else. DeMonte tells us every chance he gets, it's more than just words, it's action. And we've seen him live that out. So when DeMonte missed another one of his mother's birthdays, he made sure a cheesecake showed up at her door, topped with an edible photo of the two of them smack in the middle.
In the reinvestigation of this case, we visited Congress Heights in Southeast DC, spoke to people involved in the case, and had many long phone calls with DeMonte. Through these experiences, we now understand how his case was a terrible example of the many shortcomings of our criminal justice system. And the more we learned about the case, the more outraged we became. Before we share just some of the glaring issues within DeMonte's case in our documentary, we'd like to thank the people who made this possible. Thank you to our law student, Tiana. Who has helped us explore avenues for exoneration and has spearheaded the search for legal representation. A huge thank you to every expert, interviewee, and class instructor that we bugged endlessly, both on and off screen. Your words are the foundation of this documentary and continue to help inform us as we work on DeMonte's legal case.
And lastly, thank you to DeMonte's family and friends, Linda, Jessica, Dewey, Dalmo, Charlie, Marcus, and others, who have been so welcoming and open, despite us sometimes too quickly shoving a camera in your faces. Most importantly, this video is for DeMonte. We have never met anyone whose humor is the very first thing everyone talks about, something you notice within the first 5 minutes of being around him. But this documentary seeks to show a side of DeMonte that many have not heard. DeMonte has, as he told us on the phone, never really had the chance to tell his story. We hope this documentary makes him proud, and more importantly, lets his voice be heard. This is 4 witnesses, 4 lies, 1 life sentence, the story of DeMonte Chappelle.
Describe DeMonte in 3 words.
Funny.
Happy.
And a lovable individual.
I'm DeMonte Michael Chappelle. I'm 33 years old. I've been incarcerated now for 12 years for this crime that I had nothing to do with and know nothing about.
They came and locked him up without any evidence. Known liars. Some people that wasn't even credible. I don't understand.
The facts of the case as presented by the government were almost entirely circumstantial evidence.
Essentially, there was a woman by the name of Doris Bronson who put Mr. Chappelle's name into the case. She had initially claimed that she didn't see anything. Ms. Bronson was essentially an opportunist who wanted a way out of the neighborhood and was able to get that through giving them a name. She gave a description that didn't match either the clothing or the shoes that Mr. Chappelle was wearing.
She also says that when the shooting occurred, she was right there. She was 4 feet away. But guess what? Nobody else puts her there. No other witness says anybody but the shooter and the victim were there at that time.
I asked her about it, just literally sit down and have a conversation. She was just basically like, she did it for the money, and she was sorry, but she was like, I can't take it back. And she felt like the government was pressuring her to do what she did.
The set of witnesses who had come forward in the very early going in the case and had given descriptive information that did not match Mr. Chappelle, they discarded those folks and worked to explain them away in favor of Doris Bronson.
When was arrested in 2013, he then claimed that he had seen DeMonte the night of the crime with a gun. He could not describe the gun or what DeMonte was wearing, and he was promised a reduced sentence in his case, where he was facing 10 to 21 years.
The courts acknowledged that he had all these severe intellectual and developmental disabilities,
making him very susceptible to suggestibility, and especially to leading questions on the stand.
His head was down facing the floor the entire time he was testifying. He literally wouldn't look at either me or the jury at any point.
It was clear that he didn't actually remember the night and likely didn't witness anything at all.
You had the motivation to get a sentence reduced, and you're that vulnerable to the types of interrogation tactics that we use, then, that's a double whammy right there.
And Robert Brandon, who was completely incredible in every way.
Robert Brandon was arrested and then provided police with information.
After trial, after he testified, he then came forward with new information.
Courts on appeal did find that his testimony was not credible. They did claim, though, that that wasn't enough to change the jury verdict.
They did an identification where they showed him a single photograph before he ever gave them a name.
A single photo ID was highly inappropriate. When Floyd was testifying, when he was giving the details about what he saw, he actually put himself over 200 feet away at nighttime. And he claimed that he could see the people's faces, make identifications, all that. But the other thing is, he has a shooter running the wrong way.
He had literally admitted to lying about another murder and then later admitted it wasn't anything that he had seen.
A witness of this nature who's looking to cooperate in order to receive a benefit, when they come forward this late, it's because the prosecution feels they have a weak case.
The night I was at my cousin's Halloween party, it was a whole lot of alibi witnesses that could have testified on my behalf.
My girl, my wife, whatever. It was her party. We was in there, yeah, we was in there. We was in the party, chilling, having fun before the party even really started.
Some people dancing, you know, everything was done in the backyard. So I'm out back and I remember hearing gunshots. If I'd have went up there during my trial to testify for myself, there'd have been a lot of things I'd have said. I was going to school, I was actually going to UDC, I was taking child development classes because I wanted to start and open my own daycare. If I could have had, I would have let it be known what type of person that I really am.
DeMonte is my middle child. He was just a really good, outgoing kid. He is.
He was pretty much the life of all of us. Like, people just loved being around him. DeMonte was like that glue that actually kept us together.
He think he's Kevin Hart. He's a comedian.
When I came to prison, my daughter, Mother Tierra, I found out that she was pregnant. I pretty much didn't have the ability all the time, still to this day, to really be out there with my daughters.
Identical, just like him. And he loved them, And even in there, he tried to be a dad from in there. Most dads go to jail and just don't care. In there, he wants to know everything about his daughters.
He talked about it all the time, and he'd be so excited. He'd be like, I talk to my baby, I talk to my babies. DeMonte, like, he spoils them girls, like, to the point, like, if they ask for it, he get it. He loves his girls. He loves his girls.
I try to do everything I can today to be in their life, bound things for cheerleading competition. My oldest daughter, she's really nice in basketball. She plays basketball as well, so I try to support her with that also. When I get home to see my daughter, I think that'll be one of the happiest days of my life. I know I shed tears just to be there and be a dad, you know, to be a father, to be there to raise them, you know, to be able to try to, you know, make up. I know you can't make up for time, but make up for, you know, the things that I missed in their life and just show them what type of dad they have, like show them what type of man I am.
I would tell him I love him. I would tell him I love him. I would tell him, like, to continue to pray, stay safe, and keep your head up. Like, at the end of the day, God got the last say so. My brother be home.
And I always tell him God loves him, no matter what. And, like, this too shall pass, and that he's gonna be okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Claudia. These are Tamai and Brendan.
And Ken asked that we introduce ourselves today as Ken's dream team. When Ken calls us, he always asks us the same thing. When they make a movie about us, who's gonna play you? Ken loves to watch movies. He loves to write. He loved to watch Georgetown basketball growing up. And he loves to crack a joke at the most inappropriate times. For the past 27 years, Ken has been doing all these things from inside a jail cell. In 1997, Kendrick Gillum was wrongfully incarcerated for the murder of Charles Newsom. At the time of the crime, Ken was at home, spending an evening with his wife and their 2 children. But the West Memphis Police Department didn't care about this alibi. They unjustly and relentlessly pursued Ken until they got a conviction. Ken is serving life without the possibility of parole. In a town known for its history of wrongful arrests and over-policing, Ken's case represents something much larger. A call to investigate the authority figures that are meant to protect us, but end up doing the exact opposite.
This semester, we've each had the honor and privilege to get to know Ken. He is one of the most resilient, determined, and intelligent people we've ever met. Despite spending nearly 3 decades under wrongful incarceration, Ken has never given up hope, and he's continued to inspire his family, his town, and our team to keep up the good fight. He knows this case better than most lawyers do. We can't tell you how many times he's brought us a new piece of case law or a new legal statute, oftentimes before his legal team had ever thought to suggest it. He is also a devoted father, grandfather, and spouse, a big jokester, and a loving son to his mother, Shirley.
We'd first like to thank Ken. He is every bit of what Claudia and Brennan have said he is, and he's made this semester such an enjoyable one. We also could not have reinvestigated this case without the support of the MAE team, who have worked tirelessly to provide us with contacts and resources that have helped us construct our case, and more specifically, Max Lang, our Georgetown law student, for his legal expertise. We also want to give a special thanks to Sully, our Adobe Premiere unicorn. We love you. His countless hours of editing and fine-tuning are the only reason all of our documentaries are kind of where they're at and as polished as they are. We also finally cannot talk about this case without thanking the Gillum family, Doris Wilson, DeMarco Wilson, and our broader West Memphis network, who have welcomed us into their community and into their homes. Their generosity, knowledge of the case, and courage to speak truth to power have inspired us and made our experience so much more meaningful. And so, even though this is not yet the movie that, Ken is asking for or deserves, please enjoy our documentary, Guilty Town, Innocent Man, the story of Ken Gillum.
I thought it was like a kangaroo court, that they already knew what they wanted, and that's what they proceeded to get the results they were looking for.
In 1993, West Memphis officials sent me to prison for a crime that they knew I did not commit.
They were called the West Memphis Three, convicted of murdering 3 Cub Scouts in West Memphis, Arkansas in 1993.
They couldn't care less about things like guilt or innocence. The only thing that they care about is obtaining convictions to further their political careers. In 1997, they did the exact same thing to 3 other young men, one of which is Kendrick Gillum.
When all of this comes to the light, it will prove that I didn't do it. It was the Foxwood group and the 18th Street group against each other. So it was people getting shot back and forth. It was people getting shot.
It's just one incident in '96, the dice game.
That was really the catalyst that set it off.
All of a sudden now, when we go out in public and stuff, now they're shooting at us now.
Charles, he was a member of the 18th Street group. and I was a member of the Foxwood group.
February 1st, 1997, Charles Newsome was murdered in his car in West Memphis, Arkansas. He had been driving through the Mayfair parking lot with his friend, Tyrone Ellis, when he was fatally shot through the back. Once Newsome was hit, he collapsed, and they hit a parked car.
The state's case was that Kendrick, Gillum, and two other co-defendants shot at the vehicle, and during the shooting, Mr. Newsome was shot and killed.
Ken was home with his then girlfriend and others the night of the crime. He had an alibi, and that was never presented at trial.
His friends knocked on the door and wanted to come in, so I let him in. I guess they was finna go shoot or something, and I told him that he wasn't going, and so he didn't go. So they came back saying that they had went to Mayfair Apartments and shot it up. I know that he's innocent because he was at home with me and his children.
There was no witnesses that were consistent about any of the facts. Mr. Ellis was the passenger in the vehicle. You know, his first interview was, I don't know anyone. I can't implicate anyone out there. And then a couple days later, all of a sudden he's implicated, you know, Kent Gillum and another couple of people.
Ellis, it should be noted, was facing several charges for other crimes, but they were dropped once he agreed to cooperate in the case against DeMarco, Kendrick, and Antonio. There were also two jailhouse informants who also testified for the state.
I never actually heard him say anything. I believe Fred Thorne wanted me to tell him that. He offered my freedom.
In addition to the inconsistencies of the witness testimony, there is also a host of problems with the ballistics evidence in this case. The prosecution's theory at trial was that the shooter was outside the vehicle. But 6 years later, a complete ballistics report was turned over to the defense, and this clearly showed primer residue on the victim's hands, which showed that the shooting had to have happened within the inside of the vehicle.
So in order for primer residue to be present on the hands, other areas of skin, clothing, hair, etc., of the victim, that means that a firearm had to have been discharged within the essentially within the automobile. I saw nothing in the medical examiner's qualifications that make him qualified to come to conclusions about the firearm. It defies science and the laws of physics to have residue present from a shot that emanated from many meters away. It certainly looks like the medical examiner either misinterpreted the evidence outright or had some sort of an agenda.
The actual trial started November 4th and it ended November 7th, so it was 3 days.
If you look at the record, the trial record, you can understand pretty quickly why it only took 3 days. I mean, there was cross-examinations that could have been conducted on a host of witnesses, including experts, that were not done effectively.
This case is extremely problematic. It includes all the same actors from the West Memphis 3 case. Ken had an alibi in this case, and it was never presented at trial. There were incentivized witnesses. There were recanting witnesses. 2 of the 3 witnesses in this case recanted. There was faulty ballistics evidence used at the trial in this case. This was a 3 co-defendant trial that lasted 3 days. That's extremely unusual, and it took away 3 men's freedom.
You know, once someone gets convicted in any court, it is a monster to get that undone.
So when he get home,
hug him and kiss him till I can't do it anymore. He cared a lot for his mom, you know, his father, his siblings, you know, his children. He talked about them a lot, you know. He just a family person. He a true definition of a family person.
My daughter, I didn't even have a chance to see my daughter walk. I didn't have a chance to run boys off. I didn't get a chance to do that. I didn't get a chance for all the daughter dances. I didn't get a chance to take my son, you know what I'm saying, on his first day of school.
There was 28 years that my daddy haven't been here, so I'm gonna always feel a way about that.
He loved people, and he loved the kids in the neighborhood. He was comical. He loved to play a lot.
He played a lot like me. He played a lot like me, but I play a lot like him.
And he was very protecting, especially of the baby, the youngest one.
Ooh, he mean well to me. Big brother, friend.
He's my first love. Part of my heart is missing. Empty. But I've never given up hope.
Hi everyone, my name is Noah, and behind me is Julia. Julia and Hannah. We're so happy to be here and so beyond grateful that you are all here with us. The time it takes you to watch this documentary is the time it took for Doug Gilding's life to change forever. A 10-minute conversation, one that he didn't initiate, plan, or act on, became the sole basis for a life sentence without the possibility for parole. Doug was asleep in another county when what was meant to be a robbery of a local pub tragically turned deadly. Yet, under Florida's felony murder rule, because Doug was in the car when his friends planned the robbery, he was charged as if he himself had pulled the trigger. This is more than a legal failure. It's a story of how a broken law can destroy someone's life and the lives of their loved ones.
It's also the story of who Doug has become behind bars. Not just a man wrongfully convicted, but a teacher, a paralegal, a caregiver, and a relentless advocate for justice. Over the past 28 years, Doug has earned the respect of fellow incarcerated people and prison staff alike. He's taught GED classes to those seeking second chances, trained service dogs for disabled veterans, and provided end-of-life care to a fellow incarcerated individual. Throughout his journey, he's dedicated himself to studying the law, becoming a trusted advocate who fights not only for his own freedom, but for a more just system. Despite what's been taken from him, Doug remains kind, hopeful, and consistent in ways that speak volumes about his character. Since the day we've met him, he sent a simple message every Friday without fail, TGIF. It's a small ritual, but a powerful reminder of his steady optimism. And while it's not Friday today, we'd like to pass that message along to you, because we know Doug would. TGIF.
To our incredible professors, thank you for entrusting us with the enormous responsibility of telling this story and for your unwavering support every step of the way. To Allie Cotter, our brilliant law student, thank you for guiding us through the legal maze that is felony murder rule, for helping us understand the system that failed Doug, and for being the glue that holds our team together, what Doug early on dubbed the Fantastic Four. And most of all, to Doug, thank you for your trust, your patience, your humor, and your resilience. You have shown us what strength and dignity look like in the face of injustice. It's an honor to share your story with the world. This is a 10-minute conversation, a lifetime behind bars, the story of Doug Gilding.
My name is Douglas Gilding, and I have spent almost 30 years in prison for what amounted to a 10-minute conversation in a car. In May of 1997, I was with my roommate, John Fisher, and we went to a local bar named Suzanne's Oyster Pub in the Orlando, Florida area, but he went into the back office of the bar and came out a few minutes later, used the payphone, and then said, "Hey, we got to go." So we got into his van. He was driving, I was the passenger, and we drove down the road to another bar called Post Time Lounge and went into their parking lot. A few minutes later, a guy that we both knew named Mike Stafford pulled in. He climbed into the back of the van with two other guys that I'd never seen before, Thomas Chenault and Juan Smallwood. So John started telling him about the back office, and there was a safe in there with cocaine. He drew him a map of where the safe was, and then he started the van. Mike, Thomas, and Juan, they drove off, and then John and I went inside Post Time Lounge, stayed there for a little bit, and then we went home. Now, our apartment wasn't even in the same county as Suzanne's Oyster Pub. So early the next morning, around closing time, when Mike, Thomas, and Juan went and robbed Suzanne's, I was home in bed sleeping in literally a different county completely when the crime occurred.
There was a robbery, and unfortunately someone was killed in the process. Of the other co-defendants, only 2 received life in prison, other than Doug. Those 2 individuals were the ones that carried out the robbery and actually took the life of the individual inside of the bar. The other co-defendants all received various degrees of punishment, and all of them are out of prison at this time.
Someone can be sentenced to life in prison even if they did not kill someone, even if they were not at the scene of the crime, and even if they didn't know about it.
The person that did commit the crime is behind bars serving life without parole. So that's your public safety. He's off the streets. Somebody like Doug, who was in the vehicle and the conversation took place about robbing the bar, and then got out of that vehicle and went home and went to bed while the people in the vehicle went to the bar and committed the crime. That public safety doesn't even come up in that equation. He didn't hurt anybody. The person that did, or the people that did, are justly serving their correct sentences. Doug's not.
Here's what I would say about felony murder. They lead to lots of injustice. They lead to lesser accomplices doing more time than the primary planner of the crime. And there's something wrong with that.
Early in the case, I was offered a plea deal for accessory after the fact for 4.5 years. And the deal included me testifying on the other co-defendants. And the state was seeking the death penalty. And so I declined the deal. I told them I didn't want to be part of putting anybody on death row. And so I went to trial. I had a week-long trial, and the witnesses were John and Mike. The state had given them both deals to testify and say that it was me that told everybody where the safe was. Mike had changed so much of his original statement that my lawyers asked the prosecutor if they could get a second deposition so they could prepare some questions, because his second story was so different, none of their questions were pertinent anymore. It got so silly that the prosecutor, Charles Tapscott, he actually got up and stopped the deposition. And he told Mike, he said, "I'm going to go to court and withdraw your plea. You have changed your story so much, I can't use you as a witness."
Do we really mean to punish people who don't have that much culpability? Do we mean to punish them as harshly as the worst of the worst? Because life without the possibility of parole is a sentence of death in prison.
For him to be incarcerated for 28 years, and they want him for the rest of his life, and I say, no, you can't have him. And he is kind. He's going to be an asset to the community. He is an asset to the place that he lives. And I believe that when you meet him and meet the people around him, you will find out that so many of them think so much of him, you know.
He helps a lot of people. He really does.
But I do recall one year, it was my birthday, and Doug had went. Of course, you don't get birthday cakes and things like that in prison, but Doug went out, and I'll never forget this. He bought me a cheeseburger, and he made a makeshift candle.
He kept trying to encourage me to go get my GED, Finally, I said, all right, I'll go get it. I'll try. I probably wouldn't have it today. I know I wouldn't. I wouldn't have it today if it wasn't for him pushing me. Anything you wanted to learn, if he didn't know it, he'd learn it with you just to teach you.
He helped Greg out immensely. I came in one day and he said he was done. And Doug would still go and see him in the infirmary and stuff. And usually people, you know, it's out of sight, out of mind, but he didn't. He kept on going.
So you made two hats. One said stupid and one said I'm with stupid. And so Greg, the only person that would agree to wear the hat was Doug.
He helped him right to the end.
Doug's drafted a couple of legislative bills that we've had to try to get felony murder rule amended.
The advocacy group We Heart Florida is pushing for change through the Ryan Holley Reform Act. Written by an inmate, the bill seeks to cap felony murder rule sentences at 15 years.
I'm in prison because I loaned my keys to my roommate.
I know that when I heard about his case, I was like, wow, his is actually the closest to mine that I've ever heard of. You know, I've heard other circumstances for other people, but Doug's was definitely, his is the closest to mine, easily. Even Rick Scott said, the governor Rick Scott, when he did the commutation of sentence for me, he even talked about how this law is not right anymore.
Attorneys in Florida know what felony murder is and how it is somewhat draconian and how it is applied to people whose involvement is very minimal in cases and crimes. Doug's is alarming, I would say. Doug is my most important client of every client that I have because of his situation and how strongly I feel that he deserves a second chance.
Get him out of prison. That's it, you know?
I have everything in this world that I could possibly ever want, except my son being home.
Hi, everyone. I'm Walker McCarthy. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves.
I'm Amelia Cipriano. I'm Simone Arrington.
And Taylor Torres, our Georgetown law student, isn't here tonight. Unfortunately, she's grinding, heading right into finals. But she's been a tremendous support along with the entire MAA team, Joy, Mark, Marty. Can't name everyone, but I really would love to. Tonight, we're telling a story of a woman named Lucy Duncan. And Lucy is a woman who really doesn't ask for much. What she asked for, I decided to write down a list just as I was sitting here of all the things she said to me over the course of the past couple months of things that she wants when she's released. She said that she wants to stand in the sun. She said that she wants to feel a breeze by a riverbank. She says she wants to touch grass. She says she wants to smell a lilac. She says she wants to cradle her grandson. She says she wants to kiss her son. She says she wants to sit with her mother. And that doesn't seem like very much to me. But what is remarkable is that she doesn't ask for much, but she gives everything in every conversation I've had the chance of speaking to her. She regularly paraphrases a quote by Mother Teresa that captures, I think, really something really special about her. She says, if you want to change the world, I can't do it like Lucy can. If you want to change the world, go home and love your family. And she wanted us to share that message with you all tonight. For 21 years, she has continued to love her family, but she has not been able to go home. And Amelia and Simone are going to be able to walk through that. But something I just really want to emphasize is that if there's a word that I would say that defines Lucille Faith Duncan, as we'll allude to, it's both faith, but it's also love.
Lucy is currently serving a life sentence without the possibility of parole at Chillicothe Correctional Center in Northwest Missouri. Her brother, Gerald Duncan, shot and killed Jim Pruitt, a serial abuser and Lucy's ex-boyfriend. Prosecutors coerced Lucy's then 13-year-old son, Jeremiah, a child struggling with severe mental illness, into testifying against his mother, but their misconduct didn't stop there. They also withheld key evidence from the defense. The judge ignored Gerald Duncan's sworn testimony that he acted alone and that Lucy had no prior knowledge of the shooting.
Lucy has been given every reason to lose faith, to doubt, and to give up. But that's not who she is. Tonight, we're proud to present the culmination of this semester's hard work in our documentary, Saving Faith. Saving Faith is a tribute to Lucy's resilience, to the woman she is, and to the injustice she continues to endure. This title represents not only her middle name, but also captures the spirit of what has carried her through more than 2 decades in prison. Faith in her innocence, faith in her family, and faith that justice, however delayed, can still prevail. We thank you all for being here, and we invite you to share in her story tonight. Lucy hopes it leaves you with something lasting, which is a reminder to live with courage, compassion, and faith. So with that, we present to you Saving Faith, the story of Lucy Faith Duncan.
I had to go with what they were saying, because if I didn't, then I'm going to prison, and they're for sure going to prison. But if I do this, then I most likely won't go to prison, and they might not.
My name's Lucy Duncan. I'm 58 years old. I've been locked up 21 years for something I could never do.
Well, I don't have it in me to hate anyone. I was raised in a real loving Christian home. I had 3 older brothers. I'm the youngest of 4. We were a very close family, very close, very protective.
She's always been dedicated to her kids and dedicated to her family.
It happened so many times, I can't even really tell you the very first time it happened. He was just always around, only doing drugs, only beating on her.
If we unpack the development of those patterns of behavior that lead to what we would externally see as violence, we know that there's a slow progression in the ways that one partner controls the daily activities of the other partner.
I didn't see that at first because he was nice and everything going great, but later on I started picking up on these things.
He abused me, assaulted me, took me, felonious restraint, broke my nose, fractured my hyoid, vandalized my car.
All the times he beat on my sister, he would go in, he'd get arrested, he'd be bailed out, like be back home smoking crack before she's even done filling out the report.
I moved away from him, but he let me know he knew where I was and he could get to me anytime. And there were times that I did meet with him, and we hung out for a little bit, because when he wasn't high, he was wonderful when he wasn't high. That's one reason I kept staying with him, and I loved him. So when he asked to meet him, I said yes. But I told him I wanted my brother there to make sure nothing happened. I went to my brother's and I waited, and Jim finally said, come get him, because he had been getting high. He didn't want to drive.
So we went down to the river to shoot off fireworks.
Jim told me down by the river, he wanted me to drop charges, and I said I couldn't. The state picked him up. He said, well, I'm going to have you killed and your family. I'm going to do it myself when I get out. It was starting to get angry and belligerent with me.
And I heard Jim yelling at my sister, and I started walking that way. And then he calmed down, and his voice was at a normal level.
I said, we're done. I said, we're done. We went ahead and got everything together. We were getting back in the car, and we're heading back up to my parents' house.
And on the way back, he said, "I'm going to get your family bucket." And right then is the instant I shot him. I didn't even think about it. I just, real quick.
Abusive partners will forecast their behavior. And because we love them, we don't want to believe that that's true. But what we found in the research is that with almost absolute certainty, a statistical correlation of like a 0.97, if someone threatens to hurt you, if you don't amend your behavior, given time and opportunity, they are going to physically or sexually assault you.
What happened is Lucy was driving, the decedent was in the passenger front seat. Lucy's brother, who was an ex-Marine, and the shooter was in the rear passenger seat right behind the decedent, and Lucy's 14-year-old son was behind Lucy, so he was diagonally about 3 feet away from the decedent.
Neither one of them knew what happened. Jim didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't even know what was going to happen.
They always alleged that it was a premeditated, planned, deliberate murder masterminded by Lucy. And the problem with that is that the sole material witness against Lucy was her 14-year-old son. Under oath, in the middle of the trial, this detective blurts out that they had threatened this 14-year-old boy with a murder charge of his own, and it goes on to say that it carried a sentence of 20 years, and his testimony changed 180 degrees.
Jeremiah was 13 at the time. He turned 14. He's extremely young.
Youth are certainly much more susceptible to these pressures. In this context, you are a police officer with the authority to do anything. And this is a 13-year-old boy who just saw somebody killed. I don't care how gentle you are. That is a situation that is, in and of itself, by the way, even for an adult, sort of at a minimal level, pressuring and coercive before you say anything in the room.
I was diagnosed with a myriad of disorders and put on even more pills. It was about 5 different disorders with like 14 different medications.
This is not just a 13-year-old boy. This is a 13-year-old boy who has just experienced trauma, who has had prior traumas. So this is a re-traumatization. And then on top of that, this cocktail of medications he's taking and the psychiatric problems he genuinely was experiencing for which they were trying to treat him, I could certainly say that the testimony itself or the admission itself would be unreliable in such a context.
Of course, one of the great ironies about this case is Lucy has life without possibility of parole, whereas the actual shooter, her brother Gerald, is eligible in 2 years for parole in 2027. She's always maintained her innocence from the very beginning until today.
But the prosecutor kept trying to get me to implicate her, and I wouldn't do it.
He pled under oath, and the court accepted his plea, and he said she didn't know anything about it.
So he will be out, and she has no possibility unless lightning strikes.
This has never sat with me as being fair. And a person is dead, and he had 3 children. That is terrible. But you look at the logic of how this all went down, and there's to me a glaring injustice.
The longer I'm here, the more my goals or dreams have to change. Now I just want to be a mom. I want to be a grandma. I want to help my children in a way that I haven't been able to for so many years. I know with everything in me that I will be released someday, and I've always kept hope alive.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Nina. I have the distinct honor of introducing you all to one of our very best friends, Kevin Herrick. Kevin has been in prison for 36 years for a crime that he did not commit. But before you hear anything about Kevin's case, I hope that you all remember Kevin as a person. Someone who, in our time with him, has proven himself to be a pillar of integrity, and his positivity through this injustice has convinced us all to dedicate our lives to his freedom. He is our role model. He is our family. And our story is not complete without Kevin at its center. His family has become an extension of our own. I'd like to specifically thank his mom and my second mom, Rita, his siblings, Lori Russo, Lisa and Mark Torres, his brother-in-law, Ross Russo, his very best friend, Leo Schofield, Leo's wife, Chrissy, and his advocate, Terry Fry. Thank you for being the beating heart of our work, for welcoming us as your children, and we love you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ava. When we all first started working on this case, Kevin said something to us that really resonated. He said that at the end of the day, truth transcends belief. With every conversation we've had since, it's become increasingly clear just how much Kevin has lived by this principle his entire life. We feel that it's important to mention that in 1990, Kevin was offered a plea deal that would have guaranteed his release in 1991, conditional on one thing, that he plead guilty. He refused. In the decades since, Kevin has filed motion after motion after motion, even becoming a paralegal to further examine his own case, and has never stopped relentlessly pursuing the truth. His resilience, resolve, and dedication to that truth has never ceased to inspire us and is reflected in every person who has joined the fight to free Kevin. Oops. For that, we would like to especially thank Judge Scott Cupp, Cliff Blum, Brandon Scheck and Seth Miller from the Innocence Project of Florida, Audrey Swank, and Gilbert King and Kara Cornaber for continuing to share Kevin's story and pursuing that same truth.
Hi everyone, I'm Brett. We've been working on Kevin's case now for almost 4 months, but there are so many other people that have been working on his case for so much longer. We are so grateful that Kevin has such a wonderful group of people who love him and who we have been able to rely on in our own work. In particular, we would like to thank Josh King, Jennifer Thompson, Amanda Lewis, Julia Reinach, and Sullivan Gaudreau, as well as the rest of the Making Exoneree team. In addition, we want to thank our own loved ones, family, and friends for supporting us during what has been the most chaotic, frustrating, but also rewarding part of our lives. Thank you so much.
And I'm Nick. I'm the law student on the case. One thing that we wanted to mention as well, Nina brought up that the family has been so inviting for us, and it feels like when you meet a friend's family for the first time and they finally make sense, and you feel a profound absence when you hang out with his family. But underlying that, there is just a well of faith and strength that I have never experienced before. And Kevin is a minister on the inside, and I think that's an important part of his story. And we were talking on the phone a couple months ago, and he mentioned to me that on his best days, he knows that he brings light to a dark place. But on his worst days, he asks why he's even there. And I think it's important that we all leave here knowing more about Kevin and everyone else whose stories we've seen. So thank you so much.
how I met Kevin. It was 1992. We were at the Soto Correctional Institution. We began looking at each other's cases. I didn't even need to get far into the details of his case, and I was willing to put my life on the fact that he's innocent.
My name is Kevin Herrick. I've been incarcerated now for 36 years for a crime I did not commit.
On July 15th at about 12:30 a.m., Cheryl wakes up to a sexual assault in her bedroom. It's dark in her room, so she doesn't get a good look at her attacker. Then suddenly, Scott comes home and surprises the attacker, who jumps off the bed and goes after Scott. And he began to stab Scott in the chest. The attacker tries to flee down the sidewalk. Scott chases after him. Cheryl leaves the apartment and starts, yelling for help. An elderly woman hears this yelling outside. She goes into Kevin's room, wakes him up, and Kevin goes outside.
She's shaking me. I wake up, I look at her, I hear what she's saying, I jump up, and I run to the front of the building. When I come out, Cheryl's standing to my right, and she's screaming over and over, "Don't leave me, don't leave me." And it can't be more than a minute. Scott's coming down the walkway towards me, and he's screaming out a license plate.
He chases the offender, sees the car pulling away in the apartment complex behind the scene, gets a tag, and runs immediately back to the house yelling, "Somebody write this down."
And he finds his fiance standing right there with Kevin.
It doesn't make any sense that all of these events would allow Kevin to commit the crime, run up the block, jump over 1, 2 fences, get in through the back slider, sneak around into his bedroom, disrobe, get in bed, and make believe he's asleep. Because we're talking minutes. And I don't know how that's possible. In Cheryl and Scott's room, they found fibers and hairs. None of the analysis comes back to Kevin. He does not match. The bloody fingerprints are lifted, but none came back to Kevin.
There should have been, if he's the culprit, he would have left some physical footprint there, and he just didn't. There just isn't any.
None of the physical evidence is connecting Kevin to the crime scene, but police tell Cheryl that they found a knife and clothes in Kevin's room, and both have blood on them. This was not true.
They took me to the jail. I'm handcuffed, and I'm looking back at him. So I don't know what you're talking about. He says, "We have 2 eyewitnesses that positively identify you."
Mistaken eyewitness identification is probably one of the leading contributors to a wrongful conviction.
Jennifer Thompson was a college student in 1984 when a man broke into her off-campus apartment and raped her at knife point. Jennifer worked with police, then identified a man named Ronald Cotton, but after 11 years in prison, DNA testing proved Cotton's innocence.
For me, when I first had my original memory, the more time that goes by and the more things that are said to us and shown to us, the more our memories become contaminated. Their job that night was to actually find the perpetrator and not lead Cheryl through any flawed police procedures.
Kevin ends up with a defense attorney, Ed Leinster, who doesn't do any pretrial investigation, doesn't interview any of the witnesses, and he fails to introduce exculpatory evidence. Leinster also had a bad drinking problem.
After they sent the jury off, and Ed came over and talked to me and my mom and dad, and I smelled alcohol in his breath, and I was like, what the heck?
After his 7th DUI conviction, he's sentenced to 5 years in prison, and he loses his license to practice law in 2000.
Anybody reading Kevin's trial transcript comes away with the same unmistaken thought that they do when they read Leo's. This guy is innocent, and what I say is he couldn't have done it.
That Kevin was claiming to be innocent from the beginning was important to me because I know what it is to be wrongfully accused.
It bound us together in a way that was like, well, here's one person in this crazy world that understands exactly what each other are experiencing.
We made a pact. Whoever gets out fights for the other. And that never, ever died. You know, and I have never had a better best friend.
He was a good kid, really. I'm not exaggerating there. He really was. He was the youngest, so they lorded it over him. Lisa was boss. And he just pretty much went along with it.
He was always wanting to be with Mark and I. It was just the three of us, and you know, we really stuck together.
Through high school, we worked at the gas station mini market that my parents owned. And Kevin worked with me every Saturday and Sunday.
I missed out on everything I could have had with him. He was a great young man. I mean, he would have, I'm sure, found a nice woman, had a wonderful family, more grandkids for me.
The visits are everything, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm living my life, you know. I'm going to go home, big TV, you know, air conditioning. My brother's never had a chance to do anything like that.
He deserves to come home too. And I didn't want to leave him there. I did not want to leave him there. I mean, with all my heart, I did not want to leave him there. And it was hard to leave, Hardy. Really hard. And I'm like I said, I don't want to seem ungrateful. I'm glad to be home. You know, but I'll be even happier when he's home.
Right by Largo Police Station was my dad's gas station. And so the police, when they're pulling me out, I'm looking at that gas station. I used to, as a kid, I'd run out there, you know. But I'm looking at it, and I'm handcuffed, and I'm thinking to myself, man, it can't be more than 10 days for them to figure this out. But at that time, that voice is telling me, take a good look, because it's going to be a long time before you see it again. And much later in life, in 2004, I'm praying, God, what's going on? When is this going to end? When am I going to go home? And the voice, same voice, told me, when I come get you, that's when you're going to go home. And a lot of people think, well, that's when you die. But it dawned on me that was a promise that I'm not going to be here forever. That I am going to get out and I'm going to see that building again. So I've always, even losing again and again, have come to the conclusion that eventually I'm going to see that building again.
We want to ask all of our students to please stand up, and I want everybody to give a round of applause to these amazing people. Most of them are 20, 21, 22 years old. A few of them are not even of legal drinking age. Yet look at them fighting to free the innocent from prison. It's extraordinary. We're so proud of what you've done. I also want to highlight and ask him to stand up, even though he's recovering from a motorcycle accident. But you saw in the last film the extraordinary connection between Kevin Herrick and his best friend, Leo Schofield. Leo spent 33 years in prison. They met in July 1992 in prison, both wrongfully convicted, sharing the same cell, and developed a friendship and a bond that is just truly extraordinary. And when Leo was fortunate to be able to walk out of prison recently, and thanks to my friend Gilbert King, and I want to acknowledge the incredible podcast, Bone Valley, which if you haven't listened to, you must, to learn the story of Leo Schofield, told by such an extraordinary person. And season 2 is just out now, and season 2, which actually features the perpetrator of the crime that Leo is wrongfully convicted of, which was the murder of Leo's wife. It's incredible, and I just want to congratulate you, Gilbert, on telling that story, and Leo on you walking free. And when Leo walked out of prison, he walked out with a shirt that said, "Kevin is next," and he's wearing one right now. Kevin is next. We're now going to turn to a part of our event that is traditional, that sometimes glitches because we're depending on prison technology and rules. But we would like to be able to hear from our program participants who call in live from prison, if possible, and want to share a few words with our audience here and on Zoom. And Tamaya, do we have Ken Gillum here? Yeah, please bring him up and put...
Hey Ken, you have everybody. Do you want to speak now?
Okay, I'd like to thank everybody that's in attendance tonight. And I'd like to introduce y'all to my dream team. Claudia, Brendan, and Tamaya. And I'd like to thank, I'd just like to thank everybody for what they've been doing. And I ask y'all to pick your phones up and help this go viral. Because we need to shed light on what's going on here, especially in Arkansas. It's just so corrupt. And, you know, I kind of lost hope. But a friend gave me a book with addresses in it. So I sent some information off, and it didn't take long for them to get back at me. And, you know, that was like a true blessing. So I'd like to thank them once again for they put in a lot of hard work and a lot of research and a lot of their time trying to help me be exonerated. But like I said, West Memphis, I hope that we can really put a spotlight on the corruption that's going on there. It's just the judges, the prosecutors, the police. They withhold evidence from people. They plant drugs, they sell drugs. Man, it's crazy there. It's crazy. And it's crazy that I have to spend like almost 29 years of my life in here for something I didn't do. It's hard. It's very hard. For instance, I lost my father on Christmas Eve. And I had attended more like 6, 7 funerals already. And the police that was involved in my case, he's the sheriff now, he called down here and told them he didn't want me in the county. Now, he has a grudge against me for something, a wrong that he did. That's crazy. How can you harbor something? It's crazy.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Ken.
Ken, do you have any last words before we... Final.
Yeah, but like I said, once again, I'd like to thank everyone that's involved, and I'd like to thank the other students for the work they did for the other innocent people.
Thanks, Ken.
Boston? Who do we have next? All right, we have Doug Gilding. Doug Gilding is in the building.
Thank you for using Global Telelink.
Hi, Doug.
Hey, Doug. You hung up on me.
I didn't want to interrupt. We're here, though, and you have everyone at the listening.
Oh, I'm on stage now?
Yeah,
You're
that
on
you
stage.
are.
300 people listening to you, Doug.
All right, great. Well, I'd like to start off by saying thank you to the whole Making Exoneree team. I mean, everybody's been awesome, and all the work you've put in is incredible. For decades, I've written dozens of letters trying to get anybody interested in my case, and to see the injustice of locking somebody up for life for a crime that happened when they weren't even there. And, I was unsuccessful until last year. And that's when I met Mark through a mutual friend of ours, Dan Slepian. And we were originally talking about Ryan Hawley's case. He was the first person in Florida history to get a commutation on a felony murder charge. And when the governor issued his commutation, he said that the law was broken and that somebody who wasn't present committing the crime shouldn't get the same sentence as a co-defendant that actually killed somebody. So Mark saw that my case, was really similar to Ryan's, except for the fact that I've been in prison for almost 30 years now. So he brought my case into the MAE program. And, I was blessed to get the team I have. I call them the Fantastic Four: Noah, Hannah, Julie, and Allie. And, I want to thank all of you so much for the hard work you guys have put in on my case. I owe you all a debt that I can't ever repay. But I'll promise you this: when we manage to get me released, I will spend the rest of my life paying it forward and living well and never taking freedom for granted again. So, thank you all.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
Doug.
We'll talk to you later. Thank you so much.
Feel the love, Doug. Do we have anyone else on the phone? No luck from DeMonte, Lucy, Kevin. Do you think he's coming? He's fashionably late, okay. Does anyone have anything that was pre-recorded? Oh, you want to hold off? Okay. Yeah, why don't we mention, Kevin Herrick. Where's she going?
Where are you going? It's okay.
It's cool. In MAE, we always improvise. We get live calls from prison during class. We stop everything. We jump around. They run out of the room. They come back. This is how we roll. You can play that.
Thank you for using Global Link.
Kevin! Everyone's here. Say hi.
Hello, everyone. I take it that I'm right on time.
Yes. Yeah, you are.
Well, timing is everything.
And don't we know it? You have everybody. You have like 300 people here. Do you want to say something?
I would like to say a lot of things. It's hard to imagine 300 people sitting there. I don't know what it looks like, but...
Floor is yours.
I take it, well, before you say that, Nina, have they seen your documentary, your guys' documentary yet?
They have.
Okay, so they're very familiar with the situations. They've seen all of them. So, I guess the first thing I would like to say is obviously thanks to Mark Howard and Georgetown Making Exoneree program, highlighting not just my case, but the other cases that you've seen. I think it really just exemplifies how necessary some change in our judicial process is. That you're seeing 5 people that have been wrongfully convicted and wrongfully incarcerated for various lengths of time. It's so sad, to be honest. So I'm so thankful to God and bringing about this situation to where maybe we can get some help out of this. And since I think I only have a minute to talk to you or so, I do want to thank my crew specifically and all the people that are behind them: Joy, Mark, Veronica, Annie, Amanda, and all the crew there that you see: Nina, Ava, Brett, Nick.
But there's one person that is really, obviously Leo, Terry, so many of my closest friends and my family sitting there, but the person that I really want to thank so much for everything that she's done and been to me is my mom. My mom, I called her one Saturday morning in July of '89, and just, she's been there every moment with me. Sadly, her heart's been incarcerated with me physically, and Mother's Day is coming up, and this has given her such hope. But if you would do me the favor of standing and just honoring my mother for me as I tell her how much I love her, how much she means to me. I love you very much, Mom. Thank you for always being there.
Everyone's standing. God, you made me cry. Everyone's standing.
Amen. My mom has instilled in me a belief in God and faith that this all happens for a reason, and there's I can't thank anybody more than her for believing in me and supporting me. My sister, obviously, she's the one who sent in the application. Audrey, Judge Cupp, Cliff. There's so many people to thank that I just can't think of them all. Leo sitting there. His story is just so incredible. I've had the honor of serving with him in so many different ways, ministering to people over the years, and hopefully helping him get through this situation to where today we're celebrating a year of him being free. It's not exoneration for him, but it's much better than sitting in prison, I can tell you that. And, to the families of the young lady and the men that are wrongfully incarcerated, the cases that you've seen, don't give up on them, and just keep supporting them, keep loving them, no matter where they're at and what they're going through in their situation. We've been kind of dead in the water for 20 years now, and my family has been the backbone that keeps me sane and keeps me going, keeps me believing in a better day coming. And hopefully with everything that's going on in all our situations, we're going to see a better day, and we'll definitely have a good time. So.
Love you. How much longer you want me to go? Well, we have a special guest for you. We have a little surprise.
Spicoli.
Yep. What's up, buddy?
Hey, I love you, brother. This was a great program. You did great honor to your mom and your family, and I'm just so proud of you, and I love you, and you got to keep your head up, brother, because Kevin is next, and we're coming to get you, bro.
Now we are!
And thank all of you. Thank all of you.
And now Lucy Duncan.
Yeah, people are super pumped. You're about to talk to everyone.
Okay.
Bottom.
Go ahead.
Okay. Do you want me to go ahead?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Lucy Duncan, and I'm very excited and nervous about this, but I want to thank you for your time. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank the Georgetown University students, professors, their TA, as well as the whole program of making an Exoneree possible. To the professors, Joy Evans, Mark Howard, and Marty Tankliff, I just want to say thank you for choosing my case. And to the students who also voted on this, worked my case diligently, thank you. It was wonderful meeting you, Amelia, Simone, and Walker, and talking with Taylor and Joy. I do want to thank you for choosing to take a deep dive into my case and getting to know you and allowing me to show you why I shouldn't be here. I love being able to talk with you, the emails, especially when we met face to face. You have given me and my family so much hope, that not only justice, but common sense can prevail. You guys are so cheerful, and your can-do attitudes have left lasting impressions on us all. I just want to thank also, if you don't mind, the attorneys who have fought through the years for my release. My co-counsel, Andy Schultz, who always believed in my innocence and negotiated for 2 plea offers. Sadly, I did not accept them, and I wound up with life without parole. I believe the justice system would see through. I want to thank my appellate attorneys, Stephen Harris, Irene Carnes, and a special thank you to Tom Schneider, who generously and diligently fought for my release for 13 years, and has just been a source of hope all these years. And now as he's retiring, it's 21 years I've been wrongfully incarcerated for something I could never do. And these last years have been the hardest, but out of that darkness came the saving grace of making an exoneree, which, just afforded me the light at the end of the tunnel. I've never really stopped hoping, but my options were running out, and I just want to thank you so much, and I'm praying that common sense will win. Thank you for taking this leg of the journey with me to freedom, and I just want you to know you've helped more than you could ever know. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Lucy.
We love you, Lucy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. You want to say that? Or?
Also, a little birdie just said it's your 1-year anniversary free, so congratulations, Leo.
1 year today. So in a minute, we're going to have all the students come up to the front, and we're going to have some question and answer time. But I just want to say something here, and I want you all to think about this. There are 2 million people in the United States right now who are locked in cages. 2 million human beings. And most estimates that say that there are roughly 5% of them, some go as high as 10%, are innocent, were wrongfully convicted. That's 100,000 people, or perhaps even as high as 200,000 people, who didn't even commit the crime that they were convicted of and are sitting in cages today. And if that doesn't outrage you, if that doesn't make you furious, you have a problem. You need to see a cardiologist somehow. And what we are trying to do is to just make the slightest dent into that huge problem. I have a mailbox that's just in a building over in the ICC. I haven't been there in a couple weeks. Right now, there probably are 10 to 20 letters from people in prison. We are flooded with mail from incarcerated people with often credible stories of wrongful conviction. We investigate them. We have a huge team led by Joy Evans. I'm so grateful for Joy and her contributions to this program. And Amanda Lewis. And Amanda Lewis as well, and so many others in our team. But let's also be honest, and let me be blunt, it is just fucked up that we live in a country where somehow the fate of these people who are so deeply harmed by the very institutions that are meant to protect us as a society depends on 21-year-olds to somehow fight and advocate for them and to help make them free. But we're going to keep on doing this. We're going to keep expanding our program. Like I said, we're now at Princeton, NYU, UC Santa Cruz, and we hope more places. We have hundreds of people on our waiting list. We usually take 5 a semester here at Georgetown. We're up to 16 total now with the 4 schools, but we hope there'll be even more because for each and every one of those letters, most of them we have to say, sorry, not this year, maybe next year. And there are a lot of people in this room who know what it's like to have been in that position. How many letters did you write, Leo, Tony, Adnan, Trey, Edward?
I wrote a few.
Marty wrote 50,000 letters over almost 18 years.
Just a few. My lawyers used to always joke about, thank God I didn't have access to email because I probably would have shut servers down.
But for those of you who are here and have the program in front of you, on the very back, there's a QR code. If you're able to support our program so we can continue to expand it, we would really appreciate your generosity and support in that. But now, for the remaining time, I'd like to ask our students to come up, because this is really about them and the work they've done tonight.
You have remote mics?
And presumably there are some questions from the audience. Ideally for the students, we really want to have them shine at this moment for the incredible work that they've done.
Great job, guys. How do we start? Don't make us start cold calling people.
Hello, y'all. I'm Eli. I'm from Long Island, represent. And this one's for Strong Island, you got it. This one's for Team Doug. I remember learning about Doug Gilding's case last semester in Prisons of Punishment, and just the absolute absurdity of the case. If you guys pardon my language real quick, I thought it was wild. This is all shit, And as people who are very intimate with Mr. Gilding's case, I was just wondering, how do you guys reckon with that absurdity every day?
I think the answer, in short, is you don't. I hear that probably once a day, and the absurdity is never lost on me. I tell all of my friends, my family every day, and in telling them, I still feel that same feeling of shock. I don't think absurdity like that the feeling ever really dulls.
Yeah, just to add to that, I would say it does sound so unbelievable that, like Noah said, when telling it to people, they assume there must be some sort of mistake that you've made or you're not understanding something correctly, because it doesn't make sense. It's so counterintuitive that someone could be convicted for something that they were asleep in a different county for. So just, yeah, like you said, that's what I think has helped us along the way, is the absurdity of it and motivating us.
And I think it also shows that there's such an underlying issue with the law itself. This is more than just Doug's case. This is happening to thousands of people. This is a systemic issue. And just the idea that we have to investigate the systems that put Doug here and put hundreds of others here too. So this is bigger than Doug's case. And we're fighting for Doug, and Doug is fighting for himself, and he's fighting for all the others under felony murder rule and under injustices.
Hi, I'm Leia George. I'm a senior. First, thank you to all of you. I mean, I think we're all blown away by your work. I had to remind myself this is student run throughout the entire night. But I had a question for Ken's team specifically. I know that obviously the majority of the story surrounds the corruption from authority figures in this specific town. With a legal process that depends so much on documents and obtaining documents, can you talk a little bit about the process of kind of having to navigate that corruption whilst also trying to defend someone?
Absolutely. I think the first thing I want to say is that all the ballistics evidence in Ken's case was withheld for 6 years. So there was absolutely no ballistics evidence for 6 years. When Ken's lawyer at the time tried to get it back, it had all been destroyed by the West Memphis Police Department. It had been checked out, no one ever brought it in, and the evidence is nowhere to be found. We have pursued maybe 6 or 7 different places where we could find the evidence: the West Memphis Police Department, the Sheriff's Office, the Arkansas Supreme Court. We've gone everywhere. We've gotten documents where the evidence is retracted. We've gotten empty boxes. It's just nowhere to be found. And people who are lawyers know that the most common way that a case is reopened is new evidence, and it's just been such a monster to, try to give Ken a second chance through that avenue.
I think also, with that being said, Ken keeps us hopeful. And he's always, I think as Brennan mentioned earlier, he knows the most about his own case. And so he's always like redirecting us, to different avenues. And so I think at this point, we're probably gonna call, the like crime lab and see if they have anything. And that's kind of our next kind of avenue. And then just working with our law student, Max, who's been able to like file a couple like FOIA stuff for us and see if anybody can find anything. But like Claudia said, it's been hard.
I think the last part of this is that
Ken and the other co-defendants were working with like an overburdened and understaffed public defender's office who didn't offer them the representation that they deserved. And so like the ballistics information that was withheld for 6 years was not retrieved through the process of like the legal process through a lawyer. It was Ken and DeMarco who filed their own appeal to get that ballistics information. So it really is self-run as much as like a program like this is.
Hi, my name is Donna. That was amazing, and I'm so thrilled to be here for the first time. I was aware of the program, but here for the first time. I am an attorney, and I do a lot of wrongful conviction work. I think, I may be wrong, I think there's only one law student up there. Okay, I didn't want to, this one's for the law student. And I apologize. Yeah, I apologize, I don't have your name in front of me. But my question is that in doing this work, and I've been an attorney for a long time, but it's really easy to lose faith in the system. And you all know from doing this for many, many months, how utterly depressing and really emotional, and I could go on with the words, right? To keep fighting when you lose so many times. And you know you're right, but the facts and the law don't matter because once they're in, they're in. So I'm wondering, how do you keep the students positive? Because what I hope is that they're not so just completely disheartened by the system that they're like, this sucks and I don't want any part of it, because I would understand that. I feel like that's maybe some pressure on you, like we can do this and it's okay and we should all want to go into law, and how do you do that?
So I think I am a curmudgeonly man, and they're more positive than me, I think, on a lot of this stuff. I don't know, so I'm unique in the law class in that I'm not trying to be a public defender. I'm not trying to go into criminal defense. I'm actually trying to go into white collar prosecution, which is a little different, specifically pharmaceutical fraud. And I think you look at, though, the same way that these cases happen on the other side when it's the wealthy and powerful, right? Where they don't get held accountable. It's those same systems failing. I think that there's a frustration there that I feel that led me to law school. I'm older than a lot of my peers. Looking at this case, it's been incredibly frustrating. I mean, you see a judge wrote an order denying DNA testing, saying that it's already been tested in 1989 before they had the technology, right? Because they misread a report, and then now that's binding, right? I get very frustrated, but I think it's there's a level of creativity required in this work that I really, not that I enjoy, but that it's like you can't just look at it and then think there's nothing to be done. I think what you have to do is find, like, okay, what doctrine can I use? What case law can I find? And I think for us, it's like, these three are like bloodhounds. I mean, they're on any piece of anything. Like, I don't know, they know the case really well. I think between us could probably know. I mean, Ross knows more about this case because he's lived with it forever, and he has the best database that's been so helpful. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you look at it and you don't get frustrated with the system. It is incredibly frustrating. But yeah, it's like you got to just get up and keep going, I think.
The
Yeah.
clients often are the ones that give you the hope.
Yeah, no, they are. And this class is all about breaking the cardinal rule of not getting too close to your clients also. It's like everyone in law school is like, don't get too close to your clients, and then this class. So, yeah. Cheers to that. No.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the attention.
We now actually have a question from our Zoom audience, and our amazing TA, Veronica, is going to read it for us.
So this is a question from Ivory Dorsey, who's a former Making Exoneree program participant who was actually released this February. He wants to know, yeah. He wants to know, what do you see as the most urgent solutions and policy ideas through your cases?
Professor Ivory Dorsey asking tough questions. Who wants to take that one?
I think in our case, it's an example Lucy was somebody who the system forgot about until it didn't. She was a woman who was abused by her partner for months, if not years. She brought that to the attention of the local police department, of detectives, of local prosecutors, and they dragged their feet because they didn't think that she mattered and they didn't think that she would make enough noise such that people would start to care. So this isn't a specific policy change, but I think it's very important that we care about and make an effort to care more about the stories of people who are forgotten about the most. And I was also in Professor Howard's Mark's class, Prisons and Punishment, in the fall. And we had a whole array of units, but one of them was about mothers who are incarcerated and Black women who are incarcerated, and thinking about the ways in which, no one should end up in prison who doesn't deserve to be there. And we can get into whether anyone really deserves to be in prison. But the stories that at least hit me the most were the people who, similarly like Lucy, were just rejected and pushed to the side because of every part of their identity, and because they didn't have somebody who was a champion for them. So I think it's good to have champions for every program participant. But I think especially in our case, a woman and a mother who just was discarded. There's this line for one of these papers that we read, which is this concept of throwaway moms, of people who are sent to prison and their families forget about them. And I think that's a policy change, or something we could prioritize. Don't throw away mothers. No one in this room would throw away their mom. My mom's right there. Don't let that happen. I love you, Mom. So, thank you, Ivory, and I don't know if you guys have anything else you would add.
Anything to say?
Yeah.
Wait, do I answer?
Do you want to say something?
Sure, I can just say a quick thing, which is through my experience in this class, I've noticed two larger policy issues that I think need to be fixed, and that's prosecutorial immunity and police immunity. You've heard in every single one of these cases how either a prosecutor or a policeman, sorry mom, fucked up. And the solution to that is programs like this and people like this who make a concerted effort every day to, even though they don't have the stature that prosecutors or police might have, that make a concerted effort to hold those kinds of people accountable and draw media attention to them and continue to speak the truth and speak it so loudly that they can't ignore it. And that's what I think Mark and Marty have started here. Gilbert certainly embodies that principle. And yeah, so that's my answer to Ivory's question.
One more and then another question.
One more thing. Get bills like the Ryan Hawley Reform Act passed that people like Doug are writing in prison to amend, not even abolish, but amend felony murder rule.
Yeah. Lexus.
My mom was actually featured in, was the mic off? Yeah. I'm Lexus. My mom was actually featured in the last year's Exoneree program, Donna Hockman. Her case has some similarities to Lucy, so to Lucy's team, my heart really goes out to you. I think you did a great job of portraying, domestic violence and all that entails. My question actually comes, my mom asked me to ask this question. So you all, either you've met with the inmates, the wrongfully incarcerated, or you've talked to them on Zoom or on the phone, but you get these short little times with them, but what were, from each team, I'd love to hear, what were like one moment, one pivotal moment where you were like, you left the conversation or the meeting and you were just like, wow, like, what kind of changed for you? I know that some of you mentioned, this person wants to touch grass. They want to do all these minute things that any of us could go and do every day. But what was something that just really made an impact on your life that you'll carry with you?
We got quick responses. Go ahead, Noah.
There was this moment, we got to visit Doug in Maine State Prison, the three of us, Allie and Mark. And there was this moment walking out of prison where Doug had to stay behind. And in that moment, I was just sobbing. And I couldn't stop thinking about the moment that I would get to walk out of prison with him. And I think I carry that moment with me every single day, every single phone call, every morning. That is a moment that I really look forward to.
We had the pleasure of meeting Lucy in Chillicothe, and at one point in the conversation, Walker and I were talking about our pets. And I remember that's when it really hit me. I went to reach for my phone to show her a picture of my dog, and I realized I didn't have my phone on me. And it sort of clicked, like, where we were. You know, it's like in any other conversation, oh, my dog, pull out the phone and show, and it's such a normal interaction. But it was just that little thing of, like, I can't show her my dog, right? Like, we can't go to lunch after this. We can't, like, it stops there. And I think that just shows, there was in Mark's class last semester, one of the TAs, Shaka, said that prisons are so successful because they block connection. And that's, again, when it was really apparent of, like, I can't call her, right? She has to call us. I can't show her my dog on the phone.
I think for our group, definitely the concept of time. DeMonte is currently incarcerated in upstate Pennsylvania. That was a 5-hour drive that we had to take. That took so long. I was driving the whole time. But then, sorry, had to say that.
The other two are from Brooklyn.
But our legal visit was also 5 hours, but the fact that those 5 hours felt like 30 minutes, and I can't imagine how it feels to even be inside those walls for that long without human connection, being able to talk and know more about us. The concept of time and the fact that any chance that DeMonte gets, he's reaching out to us, he's calling us, he's making sure that his mom knows that we're okay, or that we know that his mom is okay. So I've definitely walked away knowing that time is something that I should treasure a lot more, especially because I am leaving the hilltop as well. So yeah.
Yeah, we also got to visit Kevin in March, and by then, like, he was already our friend and our family. We'd call him, like, all the time. But getting to meet him in person, like, even still just changed everything. Just to see that he was, like, just like a real breathing person, and, like, it just hits you all in that moment, like, just all the time he has spent. And, like, then just getting to, like, for the first time for us at least, like, getting to hear him walk through the entire case from beginning to end and, like, everything he saw. Like, it felt like hearing it all over again for the first time, even though, like, we were very well acquainted with it by then. And then just for the rest of, we had 3 hours with him. For probably 2 of those hours, we just hung out, made fun of Nick for being too serious. And, like, it was just being with a friend that we had known for years.
I think for our group, we have kind of 2 instances. So sorry, I'm monopolizing time. First thing, I think for me specifically, I think similar to Noah, I think Claudia knows this because we stayed together in West Memphis. But we got off the plane and I got home at like 11 p.m. at night, and my roommate was still sitting at the table doing work. Love you. And I walked in and I was just telling her about, you know, my time in West Memphis, and she asked me what my favorite part of, like, going there was, and I said, like, visiting Ken and also his co-defendant DeMarco, who we're also, like, relatively close with. And I was, like, starting to, like, tear up and, like, starting to cry just because, again, like, I similar to Noah, I realized that, like, I don't know when, like, we're gonna see him again. And it was really hard to, like, just leave them and, like, walk away from the prison and just not know, like, when the next time we were gonna, like, visit them or anything like that. And I'll let y'all speak on that.
And just to add, I think it was especially tough because we've conveyed that West Memphis, Arkansas is a pretty crazy place. When we went to the prison, we were escorted by 4 sheriffs. When we got to the room, they kept asking us if we wanted Ken cuffed, and we said no repeatedly. They also kept asking us if we were sure we were okay without anyone because he was a dangerous man, even though we know that's not true. And when Ken finally got to the room, they sat there, even though it was a legal visit, so we had confidentiality and they weren't allowed to be there, and we actually had to fight with them for them to get out of the room. So knowing that we had to leave Ken in a place like this where he gets treated like this every day, I think it just made me realize that, you know, it's the story of Ken Gillum, but it's also the story of countless people in this town. And yeah, I ask that no one forgets that.
Thank you.
You guys did amazing. You did so good. So a quick question that I had is, I guess you have like 5 different individuals here who are so different in terms of like class, race, and even gender. Did you guys notice any differences in between these cases when it comes to like working with like the jails, getting information? Was it harder for some individuals, easier for other individuals, just based off of like race, class, gender, etc.?
I can talk about one thing that I find different. Obviously, the prison systems change so vastly from state to state, and so some of the participants are able to attend programming that's either pre-professional or just social and communal, and the amount of like money that they make for the work in prisons is vastly different. So Ken, he works in the solitary confinement unit, working as a custodian and also just like helping to get the room ready for the next person who's going to come in. And he makes no money. He doesn't make any money for the work that he does. They give each inmate $5 on Christmas, but that is it. And so he's effectively enacting a form of modern day slavery in that prison. And so I think that was one thing that was incredibly harrowing, and that differed our case from other ones that we'd heard about.
This is a slightly different like part of the answer, but one of the things that our group actually confronted is having differences of opinion with our program participant. Lucy is a strongly politically engaged individual. She's a woman of tremendous faith and of tremendous belief. And that was something that was, at least for me, kind of a cool experience, because I was able to have conversations with her where she was really open to my sharing a difference of an opinion. And I found that to be extremely refreshing, to be speaking with someone who is incredibly open-minded in a world that had given her every reason to be very closed-minded, and to not be receptive to somebody perhaps disagreeing with her. So that was, a bit of a challenge at points, for the three of us, because we all three of us have different, political leanings and views. But it was also nice to also remember that this is, like assigning agency to people who we are working with too. Like they disagree with us, and that was very much a rewarding experience as well.
Also to add quickly, obviously Lucy is the only woman on the screen, but one thing that I think a similarity that I've noticed across other sort of cases of female incarceration is the sort of link of domestic violence that Walker had sort of touched on briefly, right? The link of like, she is a mother. When you heard her over the phone, she's just the sweetest woman, but she was a woman who's abused time and time again. And so it's just sort of disheartening. I think, again, it doesn't feel real. And you read the stories in the newspaper, you see the news articles on TV, and you're like, oh man, that poor woman, right? Like that guy shouldn't have done that. And then your perspective on the scope of the problem completely changes when it happens to someone that close to you, right? And when it's someone that you're really fighting for and someone that you're with firsthand.
I think we have one last question.
Hi, thank you everyone. I just feel like watching every story, and every documentary that you produce, brought a realization to me that, when cases like these start, someone's life story becomes a testimony, rather than a story. And it was just really grounding to be able to see stories put back on display and to see, the life of everyone who's behind bars put for all of us to, get to know them a little bit better. But 8 minutes is such a difficult, time frame. I can imagine to not only prove their innocence, but to let that story breathe. So I'm just wondering, how did you create room for, both the proof and for, the life that we were able to witness?
They have really good professors.
So it was not easy. And we're laughing because when we were tasked to bring our first rough cut to class, our group did not realize that we had to present these in front of everyone and that they were supposed to be around 10 to 15 minutes. And our first rough cut was 1 hour and 11 minutes. And so we had to do a lot of skipping around, and we're kind of just, struggling to tell the story, and we're like, this is Cliff, he's an investigator, and then this is Leo, and this is Ross, and all of these are relevant. And I mean, I think it's part of the art of documentary and filmmaking that you have to realize, you know, you don't need every single little detail to convey the story and convey the character of this person. And when I think our film really snapped into place is when we had that last clip and just heard Kevin speaking about, you know, driving by his father's police station and just wanting to see that again. And what really worked was just the simplicity of that story and realizing that you can feel someone's character with just a few words. And we had to let go of a lot of really minute crime scene details and, you know, issues with the reinvestigation, and we couldn't, you know, include stuff about the plea deal and the sentencing and all of that stuff. But it's not necessary to know and realize that this is wrong and that Kevin is serving a sentence, and all five of these cases are wrong and they shouldn't have happened. And so I guess I would say that the cuts are painful, they're really hard, and you feel like it's really necessary in the moment, but it's not. And I think we ended up just going with what we realized would really show who Kevin is and how genuine he is, and just stuck with that. So we made it to 8 minutes somehow, but 8.5.
So something that Ava's not saying is that she was a huge part of the editing process, but I do want to explicitly say that the beauty of these stories is that there have been so many people watching them throughout the semester. I don't know if we've explicitly called you out, but Sullivan Lee has been a tremendous help. Julia and Mark and Marty and Amanda and Joy and everybody has watched the documentaries time and time again. And I also want to explicitly say that these documentaries are meant to show pieces of this story. But what the call to action for all of these documentaries is to recognize the importance of every person in this group and every person in every cohort's story. And the onus is now on everyone, sorry to say it so explicitly, but now the onus is on everybody to find out more about these cases and mobilize their resources to actually do something about it. So one of the people I love dearly said it best: the cuts are really painful, but they're cuts in the documentary, they're not cuts in the story, and you can still learn about them. So.
Yeah. And for the parents in the room whose kids are up on this stage, how proud are you of them?
So it's well past 9 p.m. We've been here for over 2 hours. We still have an incredible crowd here that stayed with us throughout, and I think that's a testament to the amazing work these students have done. What I want to say in closing, I want you to look at these 12 pictures up here. In our program, we've taken 5 cases a year at Georgetown. Over 7 years up until this year, that's 35, and there were 8 cases over the last 2 years at Princeton. Of the 43 cases we've worked on, 12 of them are home. That's 28%. 28% are home. But what some people don't realize is that we don't just move on after the semester's over. We certainly don't, and we stay involved in all of the cases and continue for years, because it often takes many years to finally get somebody to that prison exit door and to walk out of them together with our students, as you see so beautifully in these photos. And so we will keep fighting on all of these cases, including all of the past cases where they're still locked up, until all of them are free. And that's our pledge. That's what our program is about. We never give up. We keep on fighting. And we do that with amazing students. And I just want to say, to close out the event, what you have done this semester, I don't think you even realize how extraordinary it is. This is something that will last with you for the rest of your lives. And Marty's right, the parents who are here and those who are watching should be unbelievably proud, because they are fighting against a monstrosity of a system that has all the power, all the resources, all the control. And look what they are creating. and then look up here at the results, because we're going to have a hell of a lot more photos on that screen in the years to come. Thanks to these amazing students, and I hope that these 5 people come home. So thank you all.